Yep. So will this, okay. I like to test my mic and see how much it projects. I don't know, maybe. Are there people calling in? Oh, I don't know. It could be for this part. It's not someone who's like calling in on my behalf or anything, but it could be someone calling in like related to the proposal, so I'm not sure. Yeah, okay. Do you know the answer to that? You said there was someone calling in. I don't even know if I'm speaking
Is there what bathroom?
I did. No, I checked that out. Yes, thank you.
For the presentation, yes. Question actually.
I know. I want to talk to you about Thursday. Do you have one student just for the residents?
Okay, so we will call to order this meeting of the Curriculum and Instruction Subcommittee. If I could ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Chairperson Martin,
Here.
Ms. Del Rossi, Ms. Thompson.
Here.
2 present, 1 absent.
Excellent. So we are joined tonight by Ms. Robin Desmond, and then we can have her do the rest of our introductions. We have one topic that we're talking about, the Fine Arts Wellness Curriculum. So if you would like, Ms. Desmond, to kind of launch it, oh, there you go, to kind of launch us off.
Thank you. So tonight we have Jessica Daviso from Lowell High School's Department of Fine Arts here to present briefly the suggested reproductive integration within the fine arts curriculum. And Ms. Daviso has a presentation, and then she'll be able to answer any specific questions. And again, this is a continuation from an existing meeting where we've gone over the curriculum and how the standards are aligned within the curriculum, but there was a question around the reproductive health. So that's what we're going to focus on
And I will
today.
say, we have an hour. I apologize. For some reason, this subcommittee always seems to get squeezed in on other things, so just so everyone's forewarned. But please go right ahead with your presentation.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me back today to answer some additional questions about the Performing Arts Wellness Program at Lowell High School. So the Performing Arts Wellness Program is designed to teach students content and skills to create and maintain healthy, active lifestyles. Through this course of study, students will explore the development and function of the human body, the principles of human movement, and the application of health and fitness concepts in daily life, all through the lens of performing arts content areas like dance, show choir, and marching band. The wellness program will provide a benefit to Lowell High School students by ensuring broader access to arts classes, which are often challenging for students to take due to our current scheduling guidelines and graduation requirements. 11th grade LHS student Kylie Conlon has joined me here today to speak to some of these restrictions and also her positive experience in arts course taking. In addition, this program will help us to meet the Mass Core completion rates, which are truly staggeringly low compared to other districts across the state. So this is all well supported by data, which you'll see on the next couple of slides. So I think it's really important to really see what this data looks like as these visuals, because I think we can be doing a lot better when arts course taking is involved. So in the 2020-2021 academic year, only 29% of students at Lowell High School were enrolled in arts course taking. Now this is not just the performing arts, which I'm talking about in this proposal, but this also includes content areas like visual art, media production, and theater, which are not even part of this proposal. So all of those combined with dance, with music, with band, with show choir, with dance, only 29% of students ever take any of those arts courses. That equates to only 892 students at Lowell High School. Recent state accountability data shows that only 14.9% of Lowell High School students completed the Mass Core curriculum requirements. That does include completion in at least one unit of arts instruction during their high school career. And if you look at that visual, that is just shockingly low in my estimation. If we want to graduate well-rounded students with broad understandings of the world, we do need to increase access to arts course taking, and this wellness program truly is the first step. So the next visual really shows what I would say is just one of the barriers to full access in the arts. So from my perspective, full access in the arts would mean that a student has the opportunity to first take introductory level classes their 9th grade year, then move through some intermediate level course taking, but most importantly, that students have access to the highest levels of arts course taking, because that's truly what will make them competitive if they decide to go on in an arts-related field in college. So the problem is that in our current schedule, we have so many graduation requirements and restrictions on a student's schedule that if students are not allowed to take an arts-related class until they're in 10th or 11th grade, and in many cases 12th grade, they never have that competitive edge. They're simply just taking an introductory class or two, and that's it. And that's just for the students that get an arts course. As you saw in those prior slides, the vast majority of students take none at all. So you're looking at a typical 9th grade student schedule, and of course you can imagine in this 7-period day, they're taking classes like science, math, English, and social studies, which are required, but also required of them are health and PE and freshman seminar, leaving them with only a single period of the day that they could eliminate to take an arts course, and that becomes world language. And I don't know about you, but I think that's pretty important for college admissions. So students are faced with the very tough decision of taking world language or taking art. So as you saw in those prior slides with some data, the reality is that students simply are not taking these courses in the arts, leaving them far behind their peers. So how will the Performing Arts Wellness curriculum benefit the students at Lowell High School? Well, we have about 343 students who request these types of classes each year. Now, these are just the performing arts classes I'm talking about here. Those students will have full access to the performing arts. We'll have an increase in student achievement and students who meet those Mass Core requirements. We'll have an increase in overall course taking, and we'll have a more robust wellness program that aligns the wellness program across all content areas that offer it. But truly, more than anything I can say about how this program will benefit the students, I think it's really important for you to hear from an actual Lowell High School student. Kylie is an 11th grader at Lowell High School. She's currently, you're in advanced dance? Dance 4. And she's going to come up and just speak a little bit about her experience and also some of the setbacks and limitations that she's had as a student. Are you ready to come up now? Thanks so much, Kylie.
Hello, my name is Kylie, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the dance. So I've had a wonderful experience. I've had all 3 of the teachers, and honestly, I can't say enough about how great they've all been. I struggle with anxiety, and all of them have really made sure that it's comparable to me when I perform on the stage, because that's like a big thing everybody usually gets nervous about, our performances, and they've all made me feel so comfortable. It's almost like when you walk into the classroom, it's like a big family. I can't say enough about it, honestly. I love all the teachers there, and they just make you feel so welcomed. But a limitation I've had because of the health requirement and everything is I won't get to take senior project next year. So in dance, you have dance 1, dance 2, dance 3, dance 4, advanced dance, and then you have your senior project. But the issue with the scheduling is a lot of students, including myself, you have to block out a period of health. So that limits you from taking all the dances you need. So that's what happened with my schedule this year. And personally, from my experience, I've actually learned a lot more about health in my dance class than my actual health class. My teacher's really good about talking about mental health all the time. We've talked about like personal hygiene, all that different type of stuff in dance. So I think it'd be really beneficial for me and a lot of other students if they could include the health requirement in dance, just because I've had such a great experience there, and I know so many other kids can. And like she was saying, you kind of get to a certain point and you can't go past it in dance because of the scheduling limitations. So if health was included, I think that it would encourage a lot more students to join it, and also for them to be at the highest level that they can be. So that's a little bit about the dance program. Thank you.
So the adoption of this wellness program does not dilute the learning in the performing arts or in health, but truly combines the two into new and unique coursework that will instruct students in wellness through the arts. The performing arts teachers will be providing students with a rigorous health curriculum that spans 80 total weeks. So I really want to emphasize that part, because we're not just talking about throwing in a unit here or there. This is 2 full years of coursework. So in integrating Health A and Health B and having the students in the performing arts collaborate with their health department peers at Lowell High School, they decided that the only way to really cover this was to cover it Health A in Dance 1 and 2 and Health B in Dance 3 and 4. So the students will be getting 80 total weeks of health, and this will include things like project-based learning, reflections that use higher level thinking skills, coursework that teaches 21st century skills like communication, collaboration, creativity, and problem solving. So again, students in the performing arts would learn Health A curriculum in year 1 and Health B curriculum in year 2. This would be aligned to the existing Lowell High School health curriculum maps, and in this way, students would be receiving a robust exposure to the health content while simultaneously staying enrolled in their performing arts pathway, a pathway that they could complete through their senior year. And I did include the full Dance 1, 2, and Dance 3, 4 curriculum maps so that you could see how that curriculum has been modified to integrate all of the concepts from Health A and Health B, but in some new and unique ways, right? Because we're really talking about this from the lens and perspective of the performing arts. So some of the readings and some of the reflections and some of the course content that they'd be accessing related to health is really truly through the lens of a dancer or a performer. or a student in marching band. I also wanted to emphasize the reproduction and sexuality component of this. So again, this is a partnership with Teen Block, and students in the Performing Arts Wellness classes would learn the Making Proud Choices curriculum from our community partners, Teen Block. And we did take the opportunity to collaborate with a representative from Teen Block who came in and worked with the teachers as they built out this curriculum map. Although this takes about 3 weeks to complete, the teachers felt like it wouldn't make sense to have someone come in and dedicate 3 weeks in sort of one chunk, but that it would make more sense to have them come in maybe once a week throughout the entire course, so that this didn't feel like it was separate from the performing arts coursework, but truly integrated in small pieces throughout the entirety of the course. So the partnership with Teen Block, and Teen Block has the capacity to do this and has committed to a partnership with us. They would be coming into these classes once a week to offer the Making Proud Choices curriculum. And that's open not only to the performing arts teachers, but also to the health teachers at Lowell High School, many of which have already expressed an interest and enthusiasm in that partnership. And the next slide I won't read, but you can certainly take a look at it. These are all of the topics that are covered by Teen Block in that unit. And I did include as well, this was in a prior packet that was delivered to you, but the full Making Proud Choices curriculum is available also for your review if you'd like to see it. And that's all I have for you today, but of course I'm happy to answer any additional questions that you may still have about this proposal.
Thank you very much, Mr. Viso. So I do have a few quick questions, and I will freely admit this is based on my Lowell High School experience, so a couple years ago. So I'm just trying to understand, so a typical student who's not involved in the fine arts curriculum, their freshman year, they're required to take a PE and a health class,
That's correct.
both 2 semesters of each covering the full year. Is that right?
I don't think that's right. I think that those are semesterized classes.
Okay.
And so they would be taking the physical education class opposite the health class.
Okay, so it's basically one period of study that's dedicated to those 2 topics. It gets
Exactly.
split between phys ed, okay,
Exactly.
perfect. Now, is that true sophomore, junior, senior year as well, or is that just in the freshman year?
So it would certainly be true sophomore year because students would not have yet completed their Health A, Health B sequence.
Okay,
Students are required to take a physical education class in all 4 years. So a typical student would be taking the phys ed health sort of combination freshman year and sophomore year.
okay,
And then their junior and senior year, they would be eligible to take a different type of elective course opposite that PE. So they would still be taking something that was a physical education equivalent, but they would have that, whatever would be opposite that in either first or second semester to take a different type of elective.
okay. And that's because we've allowed that substitution for whether it's fine arts, ROTC, those different things?
Exactly.
The
So these
substitutions.
performing arts already meet the PE equivalency. So by allowing them to also meet the health requirement, students would be able to take these full year classes in show choir, in dance, in band.
I don't know if you have any questions.
So I have a few questions as well. So hopefully you can hear me clearly.
I can.
Okay, excellent. So I have had parents call me with concerns about the depth of what their children are going to be taught. So I guess my first question would be, is there going to be less dance taught so that more wellness can be put in? Because and the reason why I'm asking that is obviously, and by the way, let me start by saying I'm a playwright, so I value the arts immensely, okay? And I also sing. So I do value those things. But my question is, in order to beef this up, like you're proposing, it seems to me obviously something has to give. So is there less dance, less show choir? How is the balance, I guess, happening?
Yeah, so I think the truth is that in order to fully cover Health A and Health B, we have to cut something. But I don't think that that means that we have to water down the dance content or water down the band content in order to make this a successful course. So we already have components in our curriculum that ask students to complete things like research projects, or that ask students to review dances or performances by other artists and analyze and interpret them. We already talk about emotional health, and we talk about wellness, and we talk about diet and eating and making healthy choices. So it definitely does require a rewrite and a rethinking of the curriculum, but I don't think it means that we have to reduce the curriculum in any way. I fully expect that these classes are still going to be learning very rigorous content and skills in dance and in show choir and in band, and absolutely still performing and competing and doing everything that they do that make these classes so robust. And I should also mention that the students who choose these pathways typically stay in these pathways all 4 years of high school if they can. So as you heard Kylie mention, she would be taking Senior Dance Project next year if she could fit it in her schedule. And so you could argue that even with the integration of the health content, that over the 4 years, students actually have more access because they'll be able to take the full sequence of these classes all the way through. So rather than having to drop out or take a different course or make some concessions, now they can actually get all the way to the end of the sequence, and they can really learn those advanced content skills.
Okay. So my next question, and Kylie mentioned this, and thank you very much, Kylie, by the way. It talked about, how it covers things like hygiene and mental health, which are hugely important, as we know. But I'm really, I saw the sex ed component, and 3 weeks to me seems really small. So I am concerned about that, because I think that's one of the biggest concerns for many of the parents that have reached out to me, as well as the talk about drug use with, obviously opioid addiction and things like that. That's another thing that a lot of parents have reached out to me about. So in this, I saw the 3 weeks. Obviously, we'd be able to really look through what the curriculum is, but how are you fitting in things like drug use and, things like that in the curriculum?
So during the collaboration with the performing arts teachers and the health teachers, this was really something that came up quite often, and they spent a long time talking about, okay, we cannot realistically do every single project and cover every single assignment in a dance class to fully cover every single aspect of Health A and Health B. But what we can do is ensure that we maintain an integrity to the overarching concepts and ideas that are covered in each and every unit. And so they had really in-depth conversations about this and how they were going to get to the essence of it and what are the most important pieces of knowledge that the students need to walk away from these classes with. And in fact, the very units of study that you just mentioned were the ones that they spent the most time focusing on and talking about. The truth is that the partnership with Teen Block and that Making Proud Choices curriculum was taught in Lowell Public Schools and is taught in Lowell Public Schools in some of our middle schools. And so while 3 weeks may not sound like a lot of time, it's actually very much aligned to what is already taking place in many of the health classrooms across Lowell Public Schools, both now and in the past. And again, this is something that the health teachers have already also expressed an interest in integrating into their health classrooms as a true collaboration, so that the Making Proud Choices curriculum would be the same curriculum taught in the health classes as well as the performing arts classes. So that 3 weeks, while it may not seem like a lot, they cover quite a lot of content. And please feel free to review that curriculum document. I can answer the questions to the best of my ability, but that is not my content area. So I may struggle a little bit to get to the full depth of what's covered in that. But really, truly, they are working together and collaborating and trying to do true justice to what is taught in the Health A and Health B curriculum. That actually was one of the most rewarding takeaways from that collaborative work that we did together, is that the health teachers who were participating in this really said, at first I was pretty skeptical because I really just thought that this was going to be a stamp of approval, like, go ahead and just say it meets this requirement. But they said, now I realize that you guys are really trying to teach this stuff. Like, you're really trying to do the hard work to understand what it is we teach, how it is beneficial to students, and the benefits to kids in participating in this health curriculum. And I think that that was really just a great moment and a really rewarding moment in doing some of this work.
I'm sorry, I have 2 more questions. Is that okay? All right, I have 2 more quick questions, I promise. So one of the, and maybe I shouldn't have promised, but. So one, I know. So this question is about the 80 total weeks. So what happens for the students who take dance and then they hate it, which would never happen, I'm sure, but they hate it and they decide to drop out? How do you then figure out where they fall, like to go back into the health?
Yep, so that's actually a really, really simple solution. So students already take Health A and Health B off sequence. So those are classes that are offered every semester and taught by unique instructors at Lowell High School. So we don't have teachers who teach both Health A and Health B. They teach one or the other. And so a student who, for example, took Dance 1 and 2 their freshman year and then said, I am just really not cut out for this, then they would move into the sort of PE health pathway, and they would enroll in PE and Health B their sophomore year. So they would just immediately move over into that other sort of trajectory for their schedule.
Okay, and then my last question, and I do promise this is my last question. How are teachers supported through this process? So if you're a dance teacher, you're not thinking I'm going to be teaching health. I mean, obviously you're going to be teaching healthy things, right? Nutrition and stretching and mindfulness and all those things. But how are they being supported so that they know how to really do this and they're not doing trauma or disservice to the students?
That's such a great question. And actually, one of the great things about starting this collaborative process with the teachers is really just how supportive they have been of each other. So when we had our first sort of PD day and we all met together and we brought in the representative from Teen Block, the health teacher said, okay, we totally understand what it is you guys are trying to do here. And we need to sit and we need to adjust these curriculum maps. So we need to pull out our map and we need to figure out how we can align it to what you're already teaching in dance or what you're teaching in show choir or what you're teaching in band. And so they worked together, and the health teachers were very, very gracious and shared not just their curriculum map, which is just a very small snapshot of what's taught in the course, but all of their curricular materials. So they shared this massive Google Drive with documents, with resources, with lesson plans, with ideas, with some of like the sample student reflection pieces. They have everything. And they truly said to us, don't rewrite everything. It's all right here. The curriculum is done, and we've spent a long time developing this and making it a very successful health program. And so don't feel like you have to invent it all. Don't feel like you have to go to the actual health curriculum document. You can go to our curriculum, the Lowell Public Schools curriculum document, and draw from that and see exactly what we're teaching week by week, how we're scaffolding the learning, what the assignments are. So that's all been provided to the teachers. They've met several times since that first PD, and there's going to be continual professional development for them to work together and collaborate on this, because we do realize that this is something that they're going to have to grow into as they adjust and change their curriculum.
Thank you. I guess my questions really are back to what you've said. Well, first, a comment. So I taught what I would consider a non-preferred class for 11 years at the college level. I taught freshman composition at a business aviation school. So most of these guys, and I use that word because it was mostly men, 18-year-old men, did not want to be in an English class at 9 in the morning. But it was required, just like many of the courses we saw that restrict our student choices, especially in the first 2 years. And it was the same at college. You needed to get your core requirements out of the way before you could start to really fully explore your major, which typically happened junior year. So my concern with what we're doing is we're taking away, no matter how you look at it, it's going to be less time on health. When all the data, everything we're hearing nationally, is we are in a crisis for our kids, and I would say even our adults, around social emotional learning, around mental health issues, self-advocacy, medical care for yourself, drug abuse, you can go through the litany, and I know you've already asked questions about that. We know we're giving less time to that. We also know that we have a very good health A&B program at the high school. I would not say the same about physical education, and that's not pointing fingers at anyone, but I think we have invested in beefing up our PE program at the high school. In my experience, it's been kind of more like warehousing. You put 50 kids, and they can't all be in the gym, so they're in the hall, they're running up and down the stairs, they're, doing whatever. It's not as meaningful, but the health classes have not had that. And I've done a little talking around. I've spoken to students, and I think I brought it before at one of our subcommittee meetings, who felt that the health experience really was a lifesaver for them. I've also spoken to social workers, talking about the mental health stresses our children, our students are under now, as well as we know some of the health teachers who have concerns about it. And so I'm very, I would say, not convinced, and I understand why the Performing Arts Chair is advocating so strongly for her program, and I applaud you for that, and I'm sure that our students will get a wonderful dance experience and getting a lot out of that, but we are not a dance school. We are a public high school. Our responsibility to these students is to prepare them for the world beyond, a very stressful world beyond, and to be able to self-advocate, relationships, sex education, all those pieces. So I guess my question to the Performing Arts Chair is, if we're looking at this for the dance, and I would go back to saying I have no problem with it substituting PE. I think we should still be doing that hard work of figuring out how our athletes can get out of taking PE, so they would have more opportunities for electives as well, and it can be done. It might be a little trickier. But my question is, what about the students who it's visual art that gets them excited? Photography, or one of our engineering or STEM courses. I mean, is this a slippery slope where we're going to say, okay, if we do it for dance, they don't have to take health, then what about someone who wants to start taking photography classes? And how do we fit it in earlier? Could we do after-school dance opportunities or things like that? So if you could just address that question about where do you draw the line and say, okay, it's only going to be the performing arts, that they don't have to take health A and B, which, whether they know it or not, I'm calling it a non-preferred, like my freshman composition class was. I would tell you, as a writing teacher, that your writing skills are going to serve you for the rest of your life. And I certainly feel strongly about that when it comes to health, A and B. So thank you for that long intro. If you could respond to my question, thank you.
Thank you so much for the question. The truth is that, yes, this proposal likely does point out some flaws in our high school schedule that we likely do need to take a closer look at. The truth is that we are not offering the same number of elective class opportunities as comparable high schools across the state. Most other high schools are offering many, many more in-depth courses across all arts content areas, and it just is not doing a good service to our students. But this is one proposal. I promise you I would not be here so many times if I didn't really truly believe in this, and if I didn't really truly think that the teachers could do it well. I wouldn't be advocating for it. I can't speak to what happens in a health classroom, and I won't make an attempt to, but I do know that the students who participate in these performing arts classes are getting the social emotional learning. They're getting not just a physical movement type of class. It's not just an exercise class, but they are truly making these deep, meaningful connections. They're learning about their bodies, and through this rewritten curriculum, they will be covering the Health A and Health B content areas. Now, I wouldn't want anyone to look at the current dance or band or show choir curriculum and say, all they're teaching is breathing techniques, or all they're teaching is about food and nutrition. Well, that may be true now, because right now it doesn't meet the Health A or Health B curriculum requirements. And that's why we've been doing the hard work to really take a deep and long look at what our dance curriculum could be and what our band curriculum could be to truly integrate these concepts. I would love to let you jump in and maybe speak again to some of those questions, because I think coming from a student perspective, I think she may be able to answer that much, much better than I can.
So personally, I can agree to the fact of, I think health fits in with dance. I actually learned more about health in my dance class than my Health A class. And I took Health A for half a semester, and I learned way more in dance about health than I did in my actual health class. So I can attest to that if there's any more questions. Yeah.
So we are kind of coming up to the end of it. Thank you very much. We appreciate you coming. Thank you, Ms. DeViso. I'm just gonna, I have great respect for both my colleagues and the concerns that have been expressed, absolutely. I will say this, I was struck, because it's the first time I've heard this information about the very low numbers of students who are participating in fine arts programming. I agree with you. That's chilling, because I do think that the fine arts offer an expression and a high-minded opportunity for our students that they deserve and that they need, because I think that it serves a profound emotional purpose. And I'm no playwright, but I like plays. But I really do think, I mean, as someone who's not enmeshed in that world, the fine arts have had a huge impact in my life, my ability to function in the world. And I really do think that it is a grave misfortune that we do not have a larger number of students participating. And I will tell you that that is the thing that has swung me tonight. Getting that data made me shift my focus. And I do feel that we need to address the concerns that have been raised, because I think we all recognize that it's incredibly important that the health material is covered well, covered extensively. If it's being done through dance and the other show choir and band, we have at our disposal the opportunity to grade how this works. I feel, and again, the subcommittee can't say yes or no. This will go before the full committee, and the full committee will have to take the vote. I will say that for myself, what I would like to be able to support is, I wouldn't say a pilot because it needs to get implemented, but that we look at this next year as an opportunity to put this in place. We have a vast array of evaluation mechanisms in place, so that we would be able to, at the conclusion of the year, be able to track exactly how this health data, we can pull that out of the overall evaluations and universal design testing and all that, so that at the end of the year, we should be able to see what students have gotten out of that component within their dance or show choir experience. Why not use evaluation methods to actually evaluate the success or failure of this? So it gives us 1 year, I think, to try this, and then be able to, in a rock-solid way, be able to determine if it works or not. I think all the concerns that have been expressed tonight, I share, and I think we want to be able to look at real evidence at the end of a year, and then we can make a decision moving forward. But I am convinced that I think that for many students, the fine arts are the way that they will connect in this world, and I think that's true in terms of art, and I think it's also true in terms of health. That if a student who is profoundly engaged in dance or show choir, any of these other activities, learning this information as part of it could be the most effective way for them to learn it. So I made a turnaround tonight. Way to go. I appreciate that very much. So what I'd say is, again, the subcommittee cannot make this decision, but if someone would like to make a motion, actually, that would be you, because there's only the two of us, that we, and I would leave it to you, if you want to recommend to the full committee that we move forward with this test, I'd be willing to second that.
I actually have a question first.
Go right ahead.
I have one quick question first. You talked about the teachers that you're speaking to as far as them being excited about the curriculum. how involved with our health teachers in the design of what you're moving towards? So I assumed you were talking about the dance teachers and the show choir teachers that were excited about doing this. How connected were you with the health department in designing this new curriculum?
So I'll be totally honest about this. The health teachers were not as involved as they could have been from the very beginning of this process. And that's truly something that I wish had gone differently, because I think we could have had a stronger partnership right from the beginning. But from the time that the health teachers came on board, and they've participated in 2 sort of long PD sessions, and then some smaller sort of like PLC kind of get-togethers with the performing arts teachers, they definitely have shown at least a commitment to the partnership and a commitment to working together, and I think an excitement about having someone else to collaborate with. It feels like a true and genuine partnership from my perspective. The health teachers have been very candid with me in sharing some of their concerns, some of the areas where they think we could make changes for the better, and all of that is reflected in the curriculum document that I shared with you today. I really do value their feedback, and I shared with them this presentation proposal, and we went sort of back and forth, and they gave me feedback and advice before I spoke with you today as well. So that I do know that they're committed, they're as committed as the performing arts teachers to ensuring that this content is taught right.
Okay, good. That's a good thing to know. That's a good thing to know. All right, with that, I make a motion to bring this to the full committee for a vote on seeing what we want to do as far as moving forward with this.
I'd second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. So if there are no other topics, there you go. I thank you all very much. Motion to adjourn by Ms. Thompson, seconded by myself. Sorry.
Motion to adjourn.
There you go.
Thank
All
you.
in favor? Aye. Thank you. Stand.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.